My name is Leo and I am 65 years old. The day I walked into the bank and emptied the account that held 40 years of my life, I wasn't angry. I was tired. Tired of being loved only when I was useful. Tired of being needed only when I could give. And most of all, tired of feeling like my existence had been reduced to a number on a statement. People think betrayal is loud. It is. Sometimes it sounds like a polite voice across your own dining table saying, "Give your savings for the baby." Before everything changed. 5 years ago, my house was not quiet. It was warm. My wife, Maria, had a laugh that filled every corner of the room. Even on difficult days, she had a way of making ordinary moments feel like celebrations. Then cancer came, quiet, patient, merciless. After she passed, silence became my permanent roommate. At first I hated it. Then I learned to survive inside it. Every morning I made 2 cups of tea out of habit. And poured one down the sink. Grief does strange things like that. The money was never just money. I was never wealthy. I was careful. 40 years as a civil technician taught me 2 things. Nothing in life is guaranteed. Security is built slowly, one sacrifice at a time. I saved everything I could. While others upgraded cars, I repaired mine. While friends traveled, I worked overtime. Not because I loved money, but because I feared becoming helpless one day. After Maria died, those savings became my safety. And my dignity. The call. The night before everything changed, my son Daniel called. His voice was cheerful but forced. "Dad will come tomorrow, we need to discuss something important." Important. That word has a way of aging you instantly. The visit that didn't feel like family. They arrived in the afternoon. Chloe walked in first, confident as always, heels clicking like she owned the place. Daniel followed, quieter than the boy I once carried on my shoulders. They didn't ask how I was. Didn't comment on the garden I had spent weeks fixing. Didn't notice Maria's photo freshly cleaned on the shelf. They sat like business partners at a negotiation. That was my first warning. The news. Chloe placed her hand on her stomach. "I'm pregnant." For a moment the room softened. A grandchild. My chest filled with something warm, something I hadn't felt since Maria left. I smiled. "That's beautiful news." Daniel looked relieved. Chloe looked calculating. The sentence that broke something inside me. She leaned forward slightly and said, "We've decided it's time you give your savings for the baby." No hesitation. No softness. No respect. Just expectation. I chuckled, thinking I misunderstood. "I'm sorry. You live alone," she continued. "You don't need that much money anymore." That sentence didn't just hurt. It erased me. Looking at my son, I turned to Daniel. "Is this what you want?" He didn't answer immediately. That pause lasted only seconds. But inside it lived every bedtime story, every school fee, every sacrifice Maria and I ever made. Finally he said quietly, "It would really help us." Help. Such a gentle word for something so heavy. The invisible pressure. Chloe's voice hardened. "So you'd rather your grandchild struggle?" Guilt. Sharp, precise, intentional. I felt it pressing against my ribs. For a moment I almost agreed. That's what parents do. We break ourselves so our children don't have to. But something inside me whispered, "Enough." That night with Maria's photo. After they left, I sat in the living room, staring at Maria's picture. "You always said," I murmured. "Kindness without boundaries becomes permission." I realized something terrifying. If I gave everything, I would not be loved more. I would simply be expected to give again. And again. And again. The morning of the bank. The bank smelled the same as always, paper, ink, and quiet decisions. My hands trembled as I signed the withdrawal. Not because I doubted myself, but because I finally understood what I was doing. I wasn't taking money. I was taking back control of my life. The teller asked softly, "Sir, are you sure?" For the first time in years, I answered without hesitation. "Yes." The decision no one expected. I didn't transfer the money to Daniel. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I booked a one-way flight. Somewhere near the ocean. Maria always loved the sea. I had promised her we'd live by it one day. I was just late. The phone call. Daniel called within hours. Dad, where's the money? I used it. For what? For the years I have left. His voice turned sharp. That's selfish. I closed my eyes. After a lifetime of sacrifice. Selfish felt like breathing after being underwater too long. The airport. Airports are full of people leaving things behind. Regrets. Jobs. Relationships. Old versions of themselves. As I sat there, boarding pass in hand, I felt something unfamiliar. Not sadness. Not fear. Freedom. At 65. Freedom. The message I left. Before boarding, I sent one message. I love you, Daniel. But love is not permission to erase me. When you're ready to see me as your father, not your savings, call me. The life I found. The apartment was small. Plain walls. A balcony facing the sea. Nothing impressive. But every morning, sunlight filled the room like it was personally welcoming me. I began walking daily. Talking to neighbors. Cooking again. Laughing, really laughing for the first time since Maria passed. I realized something powerful. You are never too old to start living again. The letter that changed everything. 3 months later, a letter arrived. Handwritten. From Daniel. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't realize when care turned into expectation. I forgot you are not just my father, you are a person with a life. My hands shook reading it. Not from anger. From relief. He finally saw me. The reunion. 6 months later, they visited. Chloe was quieter. More respectful. Daniel hugged me longer than he had in years. And when my grandson was born, they named him Leo. I didn't give them my savings. But I gave them something they needed more. A father who still had self-respect. And because of that, they learned respect too. What I learned at 65. Children don't always become entitled on purpose. Sometimes parents teach them by never saying no. Love without boundaries becomes sacrifice without end. And sacrifice without respect becomes quiet suffering. Moral. Real love does not demand that you disappear. Helping family is noble. But losing your dignity is not. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to be treated like a resource instead of a human being. My name is Leo. I am 65 years old. And the day I emptied my account was not the day I abandoned my family. It was the day I finally stopped abandoning myself.